Alright, in this video I'll show you how to create your own interactive slides. I'll go step by step, and if you ever need to refer back to this video, you can just come to this slide and watch the video. So step 1 is design any components you want to be locked first. Now first, really quickly, I just want to show you what that means. So if we look at this slide here, there are some movable components like the sharks, the rhinos, the gorillas, and even this here, you can see that it's movable. Okay, this, you can also interact with this. These are not locked components. So the components that are locked are like these boxes here, I can't move them. These 10 frames for addition are locked. These lines are also locked. So there's certain components on the slide that are locked, you cannot move them. So that's what we do first, is we decide, okay, when we're designing our slide, what do we want the children to not be able to move? I'll show you how I made, let's take a look. I'll show you how I made this. It's a little bit simpler, where it's 2 10 frames, some animals for the kids to interact with, and then boxes for them to type in. So I'm going to start with step 1, which is my locked components, which is these 2 10 frames, these boxes, the addition and the equal sign, as well as this line here. So the first thing I want to do is go to insert. For the 10 frame, I actually used a table. It was very easy just to go 2 by 5 and then resize that. Okay, so this looks like a pretty good 10 frame. I'm not really happy with that border weight though, so I'm going to go ahead and select this. Go here, which is border color. I'll change the color and I'll change the border weight. I'm going to go to 8 points for this. Okay, so that's a nice 10 frame that will really stand out from the background. I could even probably make it just a little bit bigger. Okay, now that looks good. Now that I'm happy with this 10 frame, I can just copy it, Control C, and paste it, Control V, and then move it. Okay. I like how these lines help you know if things are in line. I want to make sure that these are centered on the page, so I just grab it and move it until I see that red line. All right, so now I have 2 10 frames. Now I want those boxes that the addition equation was in. So the way I did those boxes was I insert a shape. Okay. All right, so here's my shape. Change the color. All right, and this will work just fine. It may not be exactly the same as the other, but I'll show you how this will work. So I know I want my equation here. So let's say, let's say like 5 plus 3 equals 8. So I need 3 boxes. Okay, and now I want to insert my actual addition signs. Okay. For that, I'll just use a text box. Plus, make it much bigger. I'll center it for good measure. Okay. Okay, now I have that centered in the box, and I can actually use this and just copy it for the other ones. So Control C, Control V. I have my equal sign. All right, so now this is looking pretty good. So I'll insert a line to kind of separate the equation from the workspace. So I'll insert here. You can see that I can choose a line. Okay, I'll make the line weight a little bit heavier here. All right, so this is a pretty good start. So now I know that these will be locked. The students will not be able to move them around once I do the next step. So I have my boxes for my equation, I have my 10 frames for the students to interact with, and then I have a line separating them. So what I do next, this is now step 2. Step 2 is to download the slide as a PNG image. So here's how we do that. You make sure the slide is selected. It'll be highlighted in yellow. You go to File, Download, and then here it says PNG image current slide, and you click on that. And you can see that it's now downloaded. So now I don't need this anymore because this has all been downloaded. So we're on step 3 now. Step 3 is to set the PNG image as a background to a blank slide. So I just made this slide completely blank. Now I click on this slide, and where it says change background, I click on change background. Choose image, browse, and now the very last thing that I downloaded will be in my downloads, and I can just click on that. Now I'm done. So now you can see this is just the background. I can't move, I can't change any of these. So this is perfect. Now I have something to work with so that I can create something interactive for my students. Step 4 is to add any movable components or text boxes to the slide. So we need some text boxes in here so that we can work with numbers and change the numbers as needed. So I'll add a text box here. Now for this text box, I do want the fill to be white so that you can see very clearly the numbers. Okay. Now I want to make the font size larger. And just like before, I'll center it. Okay. So that looks pretty good. So that's one text box. And now that I finished this text box, it's very easy just to copy and paste it. Control C, Control V. Now you do want to make sure that, for example, in this one, let's say we had 5 plus 6. 5 plus 6 equals 11. So I want to make sure my font is the right size so that it'll still fit in the box, and it did. So that's a good test there. So now we have these interactive boxes to type in. Next thing we want to do is we want to add some little animal emojis so that students can click and drag them. So I personally really like this website, which will be on the additional resources page, Emojipedia. You can go to, let's go to activity for this one. So I used animals in nature the last time I made this, but for this time I'll use activity. Okay, so let's do a guitar. Okay, so here you can see there's all kinds of different guitars that you can choose from. So you can copy the image, paste the image, and now you can see you have like a movable guitar. It's obviously way too big and there's only one of them. So I'm going to show you real quick how to create a draggable stack. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this, Control X. I'm going to insert a new slide, delete this. Now I'm going to create a stack of these guitars. First, I want to actually check that this is the right size for these boxes. That looks pretty good. So now I come back here. I have this guitar, but I want at least 10 of them. So what I'm going to do is click on it, and then I hit Control and D, which is to duplicate. Now see what happens. So I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm just holding the Control key and hitting D at the same time, that's all. Now I lasso it. I come up here, Arrange, Align, Center, Arrange, Align, Top. Now, this is important. To grab them all, you have to lasso. What lasso means is when you click and then you kind of drag over it. And now I can cut it, Control X, and paste it, Control V. And now I have this nice draggable stack of guitars. And so if the student had to do, let's say 4, they would click and drag 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'll go ahead and undo that, Control Z, just to show you. Now the only problem that sometimes you might run into is if students accidentally lasso it and then they move them all at the same time. But you don't run into that problem too often with these draggable stacks. They end up working out pretty well. So now I have guitars, and let's do one more for the other side. Let's do a dice. Okay, so this is a pretty nice dice. Same thing, we can copy the image. We'll paste it. We'll size it so that it fits nicely in these boxes. That looks pretty good. So we have, now I'm going to cut it and put it on this other slide to duplicate it. Control X, and then come down here, Control V, put it over here. Now I'm going to do the same thing as last time to create this draggable stack. So I'm going to hit Control and then D for duplicate. Control D, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You don't really want to create more than you need because it'll affect the loading time. So I lasso it, Arrange, Align, Center, Arrange, Align, Top. Now I have this nice, it looks like there's just one, but there's actually 10 dice for the students to interact with. Same thing, lasso it. Whenever you want to take a whole stack of something, you really need to lasso it. I'm going to cut it, Control X, paste it, Control V. Okay. And now I have these 2 really nice stacks of objects that students can interact with to complete 10 frames. And that's finished. So now we have a perfectly prepared interactive slide. So that was step by step on how to create an interactive slide.